Nice. Okay, so we'll just wait like 1 or 2 more minutes, hopefully, and then we can get started.
I feel like while we're waiting, we need to do like one of those cool things, like put into grid view and just have like the little heart or something.
I can never figure out who I'm beside.
Yeah. Like to me, I'm top right, but I don't know if that's the same on any of your screens.
You're like right in the middle for me.
Oh.
Nice.
In the middle of the heart, then.
Yeah. Well, it's like we just have to decide whose screen we're going to screenshot.
There you go.
Oh, I see.
I'm on a cell phone, so I can only see like 3 people at a time for some reason.
Does it change when other people are talking? Like they'll pop up on your screen?
Well, then I'll have to like switch over like to another screen so I can see the other people who are talking. Cell phones. My kid has my laptop, so homework takes priority, I guess. I guess education is important.
I think Zoom's just got to figure out how to offer the gallery view on the mobile app.
I agree.
Seems like that's the way to go. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get started here. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And thank you to everyone on the panel for joining us today. Let's start by just going through and doing some introductions. Can I ask you to start, Ashley? Can you let us know who you are, what you do, and what you've been live streaming recently?
Sure. My name is Ashley Au. I am a musician in the city. I work primarily as a freelance bassist. On top of that, I teach, and I'm the director of the Cluster New Music and Integrated Arts Festival. My pronouns are she, her, and I guess as far as like what I've been doing around live streaming or whatever, live casting out into the internet, I've been using live streams to do kind of like lessons with students, and also some kind of workshop type things with small groups. On top of that, with Cluster, we have launched like a digital version of our festival, and I can get into that a little bit later.
Good.
And also just, I guess, working with different bands that I've been working with over the years to kind of figure out what the possibilities are for creating content now that we're all separate and we can't rehearse anymore.
Yeah,
So,
hey.
Yeah, that's that.
Cool. Marissa, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hello, all. I am Marissa Hoff. My pronouns are she, her. I am the art program director at Artbeat Studio. We're a nonprofit organization up on Albert Street, and we also have a couple other locations. One is like a boutique gallery at Portage Place, and the other one will be an urban art center. So I primarily work at the urban art center, and we host like workshops and like coffee house performances for individuals in the mental health community. So it's a safe environment for individuals to come and, you know, share their talents and learn from others. Yeah, it's really life-giving. We have an artist in residency program as well, so we give free studio space to those who are struggling with their mental health, and just believe that art can create that community and create that sort of healing process for yourself and opening your mind. For live streaming, we have been doing primarily just Facebook Live. We've had a Facebook page for as long as we've had our programming kind of going, but we haven't really been too online with it. And since the start of social distancing, day one we were on there and promoting just workshops. So we'll do about like a 45-minute or an hour workshop every day, just of a different type of art medium or practice. And myself, I do them, and our other staff members, and we even have some of our community members and artists do them as well.
Sweet. That's great. Lauren, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Lauren Carter. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a writer. And so what I've been doing with live streaming is I started right away in early April when it was becoming obvious what we were in for. I started thinking about all the writers with new books out who wouldn't be able to launch them or promote them. And it's pretty heartbreaking, right? If you spend like 4 or 5 years or more on a book and you can't celebrate it in your community. So I started something called the Pandemic Response Reading Series, which is a series of online book launches and readings. And we've done 3 so far. The 4th one is tomorrow, and then we have 4 more coming up. And and that's over Zoom. And I'm also Facebook Live leading some sessions with people. So we write every day for 20 minutes in the morning. And there's such a community built around that as I'm getting busier with the reading series, people in the community are taking it on. So different people will be leading the live stream coming up, which is really a fantastic way to do it and build community too, I think. Yeah.
Sweet. That sounds great. Alyssa, do you want to go next?
Sorry, yes. Sorry, hi, my name's Issa Kixen. I use they, them pronouns, and in the city of Winnipeg, I am a drag artist and a comedian, and I also teach as a side hustle. So before the pandemic happened, like I was busy all the time. Like I had no spare time. I was never home. And really didn't do like anything online. Like I've never done an online show before. So this whole thing is very new for me, and so far I've only been utilizing it for drag, but recently I got asked to do some like comedy shows online, so I'm just like I'm figuring it out like as I go along, and what else was I supposed to say? But is that good?
Yeah, I think you covered it. That's great.
Did I cover it? Yeah. Okay.
Awesome, thanks. And McKenna, do you want to tell us what you're doing and stuff?
Yeah, sure. So my name is McKenna Sturdan, and before the pandemic, I was working on operating Red Lips Productions and figuring out what makes that company special. And I was teaching online at the time, actually using Zoom for about 8 months. And a thought occurred to me, wouldn't it be cool if we could have the theater experience online? So before the pandemic, back in December, I was actually trying to develop an app for virtual theater and getting that in development. But now that the pandemic has happened, people are really going forward and trying to do theater shows and working to do these sorts of online performances. And it's just a perfect time to just use the materials that we've got and explore this new artistic medium. I'm honestly really excited about the possibilities with streaming. And so right now, Red Lips Productions every day is doing a blast about what people in the virtual community are doing. And we're also doing a blog about different artists who are doing work in this age. And also, Red Lips Productions is producing a virtual theater show that's going to be premiering this June, July. And it's going to be done entirely using Zoom platform and utilizing it so that it's a unique live theater experience. But all our attendees are in different countries. We're going to be rehearsing remotely and performing remotely. So it's going to be very experimental, but also very exciting. So that's what we're up to.
Cool. That's great. That kind of leads into what I kind of want to ask next, which is, I'm curious so far what your favorite platforms are for this kind of stuff, and how you felt it's different connecting with people online. But very curious about favorite platforms, because I know each one sort of has its own limitations and sometimes its own perks too. Yeah. McKenna, do you want to start just because you were talking about Zoom already there?
Yeah, sure. Zoom is the one I'm most experienced with because I used it for 8 months for my full-time job teaching students English. Students were in China, and then I was in Canada teaching. And so Zoom personally is a platform that I really like because there's a lot of capabilities, especially with screen sharing, which we can manipulate to do different storytelling. Um, let's see, what else do I like about Zoom? I think, yeah, Zoom is my favorite. It's the one I've been using before the pandemic, and it's also the one that I'm going to be using for current projects. So, is
What's
there
it
anything?
like? Sorry, what's it like to organize rehearsals as well as performances? Like, I'm assuming rehearsals are a bit more closed, and then performances you have audience. And why is Zoom good for that? Do you find?
Okay. Zoom is good for that. All right. Backing up. So on April 1st, we did a virtual theater demonstration. It was a 10-minute performance. And I remember rehearsing for that. You're right, it was very closed because it was just the four of us in the Zoom room together. We could see each other. And also, we were able to record the rehearsal. So I could see what the audience would be seeing during the recording, which was a real benefit. And of course, you have the chat function, the mute, you can also turn your cameras on and off. And if you're doing a streaming option, then you can make it so that only camera on participants are present, which makes a gallery view look really clean and smooth, because if there's only two actors in a scene, you only see the two actors. For the actual performance, we just used the basic Zoom. We asked our audience members to turn their cameras off, and then they did. And it's like, all right, do the gallery view, because if you do gallery view, then you see it in its best quality. So there was a lot of directing the audience as to, this is how you can best see and understand the show. Now, I think that if we're going to do it again, I really want to explore options like Facebook Live or YouTube Live, because having everybody in the same Zoom room was really great for our round table afterwards. But if you're doing a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live, then you get to decide more what the audience sees and you don't have to direct them. So
Makes sense. Okay, sweet. That's very good. Is there anyone else who's been using maybe Facebook Live or YouTube Live that would want to speak to it? Yeah, Marissa?
Yeah, so we've been using Facebook Live. And that's primarily what we've been using. We've recently started working with another organization actually across provinces, and we're using Zoom for that. So that's more of like a closed off kind of specific workshop to them. But with Facebook Live, a few things are really awesome with it, where, you know, it's very easy to just, it's how to post on there. It's very easy. You're like, you're posting a regular I don't know, status update or something of that sort, and it directly has an option to go live. From there, you can see people's comments in real time. And then after, it actually, Facebook will save the video for you and post that to your feed. So it's really great because then you have this whole collection of what you've been working on. I know on our page that we have more of like a business related page. So there's I guess, a attachment that allowed us to make playlists for them. So from there, regardless if we had like a musical performance as one of our live videos or more of an art demonstration and art workshop, we were able to separate those into playlists. So that's a lot of the after work too, but you can constantly go in there and edit your videos afterwards. But through live, it's nice because you get, you know, those Facebook likes or reactions or hearts or the laughing emoji, whatever they are. And people can, you know, constantly click on them. So it's one of those things that, you know, you feel like you're talking to a camera and you don't know if anybody's there, but someone behind there is furiously tapping away at a thumbs up or a heart button, and you think that, okay, somebody's there. And it's nice to get that reaction from there. Yeah, it's an interesting format from that.
Yeah. Lauren, did you want to speak to that too?
Yeah, I've been using Facebook Live in the writing sessions, and it's really great. You know, at first it was kind of weird, like you're sort of talking to yourself, as we were discussing before, but I really like the being able to see who's there when they're there, if people say I'm here, and then having a little bit of an exchange. And yeah, the idea of them sitting, there for people to access later on is really good, especially for what I'm doing, because they're writing prompts so people can use them as tools, and then they can just kind of virtually sit with me, because I just sit and write in silence for 20 minutes. And so they can kind of use me as a writing partner after the fact. So it's good.
That's very cool. Issa, do you want to speak to what your favorite streaming tool has been so far? Or?
Sure. Well, Twitch has been pretty cool to use. I just remembered that I think it was like a week into the pandemic, and my kid, who's 11 years old and is also a drag queen, wanted to do a series of Read by Queens. So we recorded him like in his alter ego, which was Olivia Limehart. And he picked out a story and read that. And we did that through Facebook Live. But what I liked about it was how accessible it made his performance, because like, he can perform, like at different shows, or like, especially at the Goodwill, they're pretty good about having underage performers. But it was really cool to see how accessible it was for just like different families that we have online who wouldn't normally be able to attend these types of things. So I think what I'm digging the most is how accessible it is, like not just for people who don't live here, but for like people within different communities, like different abilities, so if you're not able to leave your house, oftentimes, like, as somebody who has lupus, I'm sick a lot. So, I often, unless I'm performing in a show, I can't make it to a lot of other shows. And so having this online capability is actually it's really neat, because it makes you feel like you're still connected to, like whether it's the comedy community, the drag community, music community, theater, arts, like whatever it is that you're wanting to connect to, but you can't because you can't leave your house. And so having these, these different types of online things, I think it's actually, why weren't we doing this before?
Yeah.
Like I know like it's happened before, but it makes me wonder, like, like why wasn't this more popular, before this pandemic hit? Because the accessibility, this makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think it'll maybe stick around as part of the new normal after?
I hope so. I really hope so, because I feel like it does create an inclusion that, like, so in Winnipeg, we have a thing called Woke Comedy Hour. And so what that is it's a comedy show that is produced and performed by BIPOC people, so Black, Indigenous people of color, and the show is entirely by us. And we make sure that it's at a venue, like where if you are, in a wheelchair, and there's not a lot of venues that are wheelchair accessible. The bathrooms are, they're all single stalls, so they're all gender inclusive. So we find that, like we find ways of being inclusive and making sure, like there's no homophobia, racism, that kind of stuff on stage. But then there's still, that one thing of, people who can't leave their home for whatever reason, whether it's, a physical thing, or even, like people who live with agoraphobia. And so, just thinking about these things and how some people still, even though, physically you've created the safe space, there's still so many people who miss out on these types of things, or sometimes if you charge cover for a show and people can't afford to go, having like an online option, I feel like it would change a whole lot of things, and it would create such a, you know, a tighter community where we could all connect on, you know, this different level that we're not connecting on right now, except for, you know, like I use Zoom to talk with other comedians and like write jokes, but you know, maybe doing these online shows, yeah, I think it would open it up.
Yeah, sweet. I'm gonna put a pin in that and come back to that in a bit. But Ashley, I'm curious to hear which streaming tools you've been using too, and which you like the most, or what features you've found most helpful.
Okay. I guess it kind of depends on the type of content you're trying to put out there. So with, I guess, each streaming platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, or maybe you're streaming directly onto your website or using Zoom, you have to kind of consider what the content is. So if you're, say it's like a performing arts kind of situation, like it's music, or perhaps like a theater type thing, and audio is very important. It like really, like if you're looking to use Zoom in some sort of like large group chat setting, you're going to notice that if there are any issues with the quality of your internet, the bandwidth that you have, it will affect the quality of the sound, because each platform really prioritizes video over audio. Like they all have different ways to prioritize it. So some are like, with Zoom, because it's a conferencing app, it's prioritizing speed over quality. So that's why the video will cut out, but you'll still hear the audio. Or if the video and audio kind of sucks, it's still happening in real time. That's the reason why it sucks. Other types of platforms will prioritize the quality of the video, quality of the audio, and that will result in kind of a latency issue. So then what you're doing will reach people maybe 30 seconds later, which might also kind of screw things up if you're looking to have more interactive kind of like chats between you and your audience. Like it really kind of depends. And these are all questions that I had to encounter when I was approaching how to turn the Cluster Festival into a digital version of the festival, and something that I'm also encountering now that Pride is being moved to September and moved to a digital format, which I'm also the stage producer for Pride. Forgot to mention that earlier, but yeah. So it kind of depends, like with, something else to consider is like folks are oftentimes trying to simulcast onto multiple platforms. So you can do like YouTube and Instagram at the same time. Something to consider is that Facebook only wants you to be on their platform, and they won't let you like share anywhere else. So it kind of like depends on your brand and like who you want to be reaching. If the people you want to reach are mostly on Instagram, they're kind of the younger demographic, throwing it on Facebook will really limit you, even though Facebook is like huge. And also technically Facebook owns Instagram, but they don't connect the two. I don't know why they do that.
I have wondered that so many times myself.
It's so dumb. I don't like it. Anyway, so those are all things to kind of consider. And yeah, considering the bandwidth that you have at home, considering your technical setup. Yeah, so it really depends. I particularly like Instagram because everybody has it. You're not necessarily tied to your computer. Although it has been quite choppy. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know. Does that make sense? Is there anything I should add?
For sure. Have you used Skype at all? I'm just curious.
I have used Skype for like one-on-one lessons.
Okay, yeah.
But I've never tried to do anything with a wider audience. Like there's so many pros and cons to live streaming. Like, is it worth doing? Like the pros are that you have like wider potential audience. You have a unique opportunity to like connect and interact with the people that are logging in. There's also like potential income. Like not all the streaming services have like a built-in feature to like collect, like have things go directly to your PayPal or whatever. But some of them are starting to, and I'm pretty sure Facebook is going to start doing that, which means they're also going to start taking a cut out of the money that you could potentially make from tips. But yeah, and then on the like flip side, there's the cons, which are, you know, you get like one chance to make a good impression. So like the quality that you're putting out there, like the quality of your audio, the way it looks, the way you've staged it, the way you can perform to like technically no one in the room with you without that cool audience feedback, like that all really affects it. So, and then also like the time to like learn how to use the gear, learn how to use all the software. It's like a big project. So
Yeah, hey. Well, it seems like the cluster thing, tackling that seems big.
Well,
I want to get into...
actually took a step away from doing live streams because of that. We wanted artists to have a bit more control over what they're presenting. So a lot of the folks that were like down to do live streams were also given the option to do something pre-recorded, which just gives you complete control of the content.
Yeah, way more freedom. And then you don't run into quality issues the same way too, right?
Yeah. It's just like a download for the viewer.
Yeah. I would love to get into, like, I'm hearing that this transition is actually like bringing community together in a lot of ways, especially from Lauren and Issa so far. And I'm curious to know how you folks are finding connecting with your audiences, and if you've found any new audiences, if you feel like you've gotten closer with the people that you're talking to each day, if the live streaming sort of direct connection that we're talking about, where you can have people commenting in live time or be on a Zoom call with your audience. I'm curious how this has like changed those relationships over the course of this very, very weird global pandemic. Us to start. Yeah, Lauren, do you want to go?
Yeah, it's been really kind of surprising, you know, how you can create a vibrant community through this channel, this portal that we all have. But one of the things that we're doing is within because the Facebook live sessions is within a group, which I also like, because then the videos remain private, right? Like they're in that private group, so you can protect them a little bit from anybody on the internet sort of being able to see them. But from there, we've done a couple of Zoom sessions to come together in real time and be able to see each other and write together and then share some work, which has been really a kind of essential part of supporting the community, I think, is having that different option of coming together. So yeah, it's cool.
It's
different. Yeah, go ahead, Marissa.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just to echo what Issa has been saying, that the reach for us, and I know for so many out there who are doing and have moved from, you know, not doing an online presence to having such a large one now, you do get to reach those people that at times were just inaccessible through, you know, their own means, whether it be, you know, physical barriers or a mental health related barrier. That exactly, like, social anxiety and agoraphobia are very real, and a lot of people don't like going somewhere new for the first time, and it kind of cuts down all those barriers, and you can just sit back and watch, or you can also engage yourself with it too. But no, I think it's really embraced a sense of community through that. And aside from just, you know, posting on those videos and doing live chats, we're able to have, you know, just yesterday I was going through a video and I was able to have a communication with some of the people that were watching. We could, you know, chat and answer questions, which normally it's just been like, what color should I use? Or do you like this painting that I'm doing? And now it's more of like them asking questions about certain aspects of our services or something of that sort. So that is a type of community engagement, as well as we don't do anything with Instagram Live yet, but it is definitely in our sights that we'd like to do that in our future. But we post like daily art prompts or so, kind of like a writing prompt. That we've had some creative writing exercises too, but it'd be like a type of artist prompt to say, like, find something old in your house that you are going to throw out and like revamp it or repaint it or something of that sort. And then we'll do a call out every week for our artists who are in our community, and even people outside of our community too. We'll do a call out to see if they have been creating and if they have been making art, to send their progress work and send their final pieces to us, and we, you know, post those and promote those as a sort of a featured or a group showcasing for that too. So it's kind of like that, you know, we're giving out a workshop and we're also receiving in art from other people, to just, again, having that connection and that communication, learning from each other through it.
That's awesome. I really like how social media has helped this very direct kind of two-way communication, we might call it, between folks. Is there anything else anyone would want to add to that sort of topic, like in terms of how you're relating to the people that you usually are talking to in real life, and now it's all on live streams, or maybe you're talking to more new, different people because you're accessing new audience? Yeah, McGrenna?
It's kind of a step to the side of this question, because I find hearing about how people are connecting to communities to be really interesting, and how bringing people in is interesting, because like I'm specializing in theater, and something traditional theater performed on a stage has struggled with for years now is, how do you get people to come to your show? So this could be an opportunity to be like looking at what everybody else is doing, and even possibly when things reopen, utilizing some of these tips for community building so that you get people to come to your shows, because that's just always been a challenge, but we're tackling it now, and I think that's really cool. So thanks for sharing, just jumping in there.
Cool. I'm curious to chat a little bit about the idea of a monetized live stream with you folks. I know a number of you probably do things for work that involve public spaces and gatherings. And like Ashley, I think of you as a musician specifically, also Issa as a comedian, like you said earlier, being in a room with people doing comedy, and you'll be trying doing comedy over the internet soon and seeing how that's different. I'm curious if anyone started to think about trying to make money through online broadcasting or live streaming, and if you've had any thoughts or gut feelings on that, and what you think would be the way to go about it if you were to.
Can I just jump in there, Jennifer?
Yeah, go for it.
So I set up a coffee account, ko-fi.com, just as a way to, you know, allow people to give me money because I'm putting so much work into this, and that's been really great. Like, I love the idea of people being able to be as generous as they can be if they desire that, and it's been really helpful for me. The other thing that I wanted to share with you guys too is Canada Council has opened up a new grant called Digital Originals. It's a really quick grant that you can apply for, $5,000. And some of these projects that I'm hearing, it sounds like they would be great for that. And I'm going to apply for the reading series too, because I think it's something that really has to be part of the conversation, right? Like, we do so much of this work for free, and we all need to support ourselves and to you know, be compensated for our work. So I'm glad you raised that question.
Anyone else? Yeah,
Yeah, so on April 1st, for the roundtable that Rebels Productions hosted, this was actually a topic of conversation, is how can you get money from doing live streams? And so far, it seems like it's PayPal, coffee accounts. If you're doing like a Zoom room, you can give out the Zoom number once people have paid a price. Or I've also gone to digital drag shows on Instagram where they just hold up the PayPal information, and then, you know, if you want to tip the performers, you go to their PayPal. And so there are options on how to do it, to have a sort of ticket. But personally, like, this is the first time I heard today about Facebook adding a tipping option. And I think that's a step in the right direction, because while I'm not a fan of like Zuckerberg taking a cut, I think the concept is on point, because if it's easier to give your artists that you're watching a tip, the more people who are going to do it. It's like the drag performers holding up PayPal. It's like, yeah, I want to give money, but also I think if there was just a nice, easy way to click, they'd get more, because then you don't have to open it up and type in the information. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like write it down. And sorry, I forgot I was on mute. But yeah, that ease of, so a classic move. Like the easier it is, the more likely more people will do it. Yeah, go ahead, Ashley.
Some thoughts around, I guess, trying to monetize live stream performances. I think that for like you see kind of two models going about right now. One of them is set by institutions. So you see like the National Arts Center is offering performance opportunities, digital performance opportunities to people across Canada, and offering, I think, $1,000 artist fee, which I think that is totally great and appropriate. I do think that unless the medium that you're working in already has a precedent set for like tipping as a standard, when you do move from a live, large, experiential situation to at home trying to do our best, and then like just like pass the hat technically, I think it almost devalues the work that is put into it. Like some of the folks that I know who've been working on their live streams for like different programs, like for instance, Manitoba Music's live stream, which I do some hosting for. Even for myself to set up to record those hosting situations, it's like how many takes, how many like hours did I put into like stacking my laptop on like a precarious pile, or like having like weird lamps facing. It's just like there's so much that goes into it, and then I just don't feel right. Like it just doesn't seem right to me to have this like, I mean, who are you reaching out to? It's going to be your networks. It's going to be your friends. These are the same folks that you've been like hassling to come down to the live venue anyway. It just, I don't know if that really, I don't know how that feels. Like for me, it doesn't feel very good. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of the projects that I'm a part of haven't really tried to push a live situation. Also, we all live in separate places. I play in large bands. Even if it was like a watch party for a video that was made collaboratively, I don't know if asking for tips makes sense there, but maybe doing this like recording and putting it on Bandcamp and like linking it that way might make a bit more sense. But unless you're in a situation where you have a larger organization like reaching out to the broader audience, like connecting you to their networks, I don't see really the value in just having a live stream for a live stream's sake. Like perhaps you had some shows canceled, you have material that you've worked on that you can no longer tour, definitely have a live stream. If you have an album release that was like canceled, have a live stream. If you have like new material you want to test with a small group of people, that could be a great opportunity to set up something for like a small like personal kind of viewing. Maybe it could be ticketed, really, to be like super fans come here. It's like small Zoom invite, check out this new stuff. But like I'm not sure if like,
yeah, just streaming for the sake of streaming. Hey,
yeah,
go ahead, McConnell. Sorry.
So I think Ashley made a lot of great points, but the one I'm taking is that it does depend on the form of art. That definitely streaming for the sake of streaming isn't preferable, because then you're probably not going to put out your best work. However, with virtual theater, the concept is that it's made to be streamed. And so I think for a different form of art, it does work, but also with tipping, the question becomes like, for tickets, you could charge tickets, like, you need $10 to get the Zoom meeting ID to come in. But also there's how do you implement a pay what you can ticket system, which is a newer model making its way into theater. So on an online venue, is a pay what you can that be translated into a tip? I think it's just a lot of different experimentation and figuring out what works for which medium and what the intent is for the art.
Yeah, that's a great point. Really depends on like what you're trying to say and kind of who you're trying to say it to and how you want to go about that. I'm curious, I want to address, Danny had a question in the general chat, and also I think this kind of merges with the conversation about paying for content. Do you think that there's like a give and take, like for quality of live streams? Obviously we're limited because it's going over the internet. And like Ashley sort of hinted at, you could always just pre-record things, and there's ways to pre-record things and broadcast them live and that kind of thing. Do you think, like, if you are to monetize, do you think it should be something of that higher quality, or do you think people are just like used to the streaming environment already? Or do you feel like quality, when you're doing something for free, do you feel like it's still worth putting out the very best quality that you can? Or yeah, Ashley?
I think it's definitely worth trying to monetize through more conventional means, maybe not so much through the live stream, but through like I guess if it was with music, I guess this is, I mean, everything I'm talking about is much more related to my little world of sound. But it can be released as a single. It could be released as a small EP, eventually like a series of live streams, or not live streamed, but like pre-recorded situations that you could have a watch party for. I think that would be totally fine. Also, if you were to do some sort of like video, live streamed video or watch party of something that you pre-recorded, it's good to think about how you can use it later. So maybe it's not necessarily just like videos of ourselves in our living rooms playing our instruments and it's all jumping back and forth, but it could be we do the audio, maybe while some folks are on their daily walks, everybody takes some nice high quality footage on their iPhones and you stitch it together, turn it into a music video. And that, I think that would be a step away from so many live streams. I think there's a lot of live stream fatigue that's happening right now. I know that when I'm scrolling through my Instagram, like stories, I'm like trying not to press on the live stream ones because I'm like, oh no, what if they see that I click it and then I leave because I didn't actually mean to click it. I don't want to upset them. And there's like 4 people and you're like, I guess I'll just leave it on for like 10 minutes. I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, has anyone here been feeling any live stream fatigue, both in the audience and on the panel? Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. What Ashley said about clicking on like an Instagram live, like by accident, and then that anxiety of like, oh my God, they're gonna see that I'm here, but then if I leave right away, I'm gonna seem rude. And so like I'll feel this like immense pressure to stay and watch when I'm like, oh man, I just wanted to scroll through some stories and, you know, hopefully see some good memes. And now I'm stuck in this person's live feed of, you know, them putting on their drag makeup, and now I have to interact so that I'm not being, you know, like a douche. So I think like I'm definitely feeling the fatigue there, but also just you know, scooting back to the other question of, you know, producing sort of like higher quality content for pay versus, you know, like something that I'm just, you know, gonna be like sitting like chatting in my living room, you know, like without any pants or something. Like I think, you know, that those times I'm not gonna expect people to pay money to listen to me, you know, to listen to my thoughts while I'm, you know, sitting in my gitch. But if like I pre-record something like what we've been doing in the Winnipeg drag scene, is a lot of us have been putting together shows where we pre-record our numbers, and they're almost like music videos. I would say some of, like, especially like a lot of the younger drag performers, they're like putting together these like MTV music videos for a drag number. And we don't exclusively charge people to watch the shows, but we do have like, you know, tip options for an individual performer, and then we also have sort of like a general, like, if you really like this show, you know, like you can pay $10 for all the performers, and then we split all the tips at the end. But because a lot of us have been getting the CERB, like the benefit, that like I haven't been accepting tips, so a lot of the tips I will send to, you know, like Sunshine House, or, you know, like what, like a community program that's, you know, really doing a lot of the work that some places aren't able to do right now because they're closed. So we'll, you know, take our tips and put it towards there. But I can see this being, you know, a viable option for a lot of performers, to sort of like broaden their outreach of, you know, their art form. And, you know, myself as a comedian and a drag performer, I'm able to now do shows with people in Chicago or New York or, you know, Toronto. I just got 2 bookings. So I am seeing this really unique change. But as far as like monetizing it, like I haven't thought that far yet because of CERB. But that is something to look at, especially now that I have all this dang time on my hands. It's something that, you know, a lot of us could be, you know, looking at like business planning types of things. So yeah, I mean, I'm old, so like I'm not hip to a lot of these things. Like I'm sitting here using my cell phone while everyone has like these like really like nicely placed cameras, and Ashley has a friggin' microphone in front of her face. So like, yeah, there's definitely some benefits, and there's definitely a lot of things that I still have to learn. So I'm learning it from like a lot of the younger folks.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a time where a lot of people have had to like quickly pivot their whole plans for the whole year and turn it into digital programming or another kind of creative. I'm curious if you guys have felt like this is like a creative challenge in some way. I know there is a fair bit of narrative around like using this time to do something new or whatever, but at the same time we're going through the kind of thing that actually puts everybody in fight flight every single day all the time, because it feels like a threat to our to everyone we love and all that kind of stuff. So I'm curious if how you guys have felt about the transition to figuring out how to do digital, if there's been moments of excitement or whether or not it's felt like a creative challenge per se.
Definitely a challenge.
Yeah. Let's go Issa and McKenna and then Lauren, and then we'll move along.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, I'm definitely finding it to be a challenge because it's not something that I really relied heavily on in any of my art forms, like, you know, comedy and drag, and even theater to an extent, which is really cool to learn about McKenna's theater thing, because that's something I didn't know was possible. So it's definitely been challenging, you know, again, like I'm seeing a lot of people, you know, who are like, oh, I learned how to bake sourdough bread with all my spare time, or, you know, like I've, you know, renovated my entire house, and I'm just like, I brushed my teeth today and put on pants. Like, so I think it depends on, you know, like where you're at, you know, with your mental health, and, you know, how much time you actually have to learning a new thing. Because I also have 2 kids who, you know, are also being homeschooled in junior high, and guess who sucks at school? I do. So it's and it's definitely a learning curve, but I'm actually like sneaking in on their sessions so that I can learn how to do some of these things too. So yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah. McKenna?
Yeah, so I think my pandemic experience is a little bit different because I'm about 2 months ahead of everybody in the pandemic. Because I lost my job and everything back in January. So I've had a bit longer, and there's definitely been ups and downs there. For me, the biggest down was when all the borders started closing and commercial flights had stopped. Because for me, that was when it was real panic. And for about 2 weeks, I couldn't do anything because it's like, do I stay in Taiwan? Do I go back to Canada? Do I go back to Korea? It was a very stressful moment. But by and large, again, I was looking at doing virtual theater before the pandemic. So for me, the biggest challenge was expediting my plans because I was looking at launching it at the end of 2020 with an actual app that had been dedicated to it. But now, because everybody is at home, it's like, no, this is the time to do it and to just jump right in. So overall, definitely, I think there's ups and downs, but I feel like I've reached a place in the pandemic. Again, I'm a couple months ahead, where it's like, you know what, this is the time to rebuild, to make the new normal, to look at actually the pros of doing virtual and live streaming, because it can do things that a live performance can't do. So I'm at that point where it's like, now I'm ready to look at the opportunities.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited for when we all get there. No, that sounds great. Lauren, do you want to go? And then Marissa and Ashley after?
Yeah, I think like for me, you know, writing regularly really supports my mental health. So it's been incredible on my side too to have a community of people who kind of gather every morning just to sit and write for 20 minutes. So I always tell people that even if they just sit with us and do their to-do list, it's, you know, whatever, like just come for the community. And one of the things that's been really valuable about the reach of this thing is there are people from all over, right? Like there's a guy that I've worked with who's in Syria right now. And he's in isolation in Syria and talks about how it's worse than the war because everything is shut down. And at least in the war, you were connected with people, but because the war has stopped, there's the palpable loneliness is really obvious. So he's been part of this, and someone in Texas, you know, just people from everywhere, a lot of people in remote Northern Ontario, Northern Manitoba. So having that kind of ability to bring people geographically together in their isolation and in their loneliness is really significant too. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I figured there'd be people showing up to your live streams now that you probably would never have the opportunity to meet them in real life, but thank goodness for the World Wide Web at times.
There's a few questions in the
Yeah,
sorry, you can't see me, this is Rachel, but a few questions in the chat box that Ashley could probably.
Okay, cool. Yeah, can you see the chat there, Ashley, too?
Yeah, could you speak about that?
I think Dora's, yeah. And then
Okay.
and we can do
terms of
Jan's after.
multiple, let's see, platform choices, resources for combining, for clarification, is that for streaming out to multiple platforms or combining different inputs into one platform, like multiple videos, streams from other people, like something collaborative or something out combined? Okay, live concert style. Okay. So in the case of having people play music at the same time from different places, not going to happen. That's not a possible thing. It doesn't sound like it has to be pre-recorded. There's too many latency issues. I've seen tons of folks try to do this and it does not turn out well. Like one person's like 30 seconds ahead sometimes and it's like, what is going on? But what I've seen to be very effective is someone who is, I guess, kind of at the helm, or like usually the band leader, whoever can like play and sing at the same time, we'll make a recording and then pass that off to somebody else, and they'll make their own recording on top of it, and that just keeps going down the chain until you end up with everybody's piece, and then you can kind of stitch it together in Adobe Premiere Pro or iMovie or whatever. Play around
Davinci
with the
Resolve
audio.
is free. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
Just type in Davinci Resolve is a free heavy-duty video editor if anyone wants.
and it's pretty solid. What you will miss from that is like any sort of interactive aspect of it. So if it is like jazz, like, I mean, you don't really get that like live spontaneity in terms of like the drums interacting with the bass or with the singer. Like, it's just going to be playing along to a recording, which works for a lot of different genres of music. But yeah.
Jan also has a question about using screen share on Zoom for music or video clips. She's curious if anyone's had any success using the screen share function for sharing video clips. And McCrenna?
So back when I was teaching English online through Zoom, we always had movie videos that we had to share with our students, and it worked about 80% of the time. The thing is that a lot of time you have to click the exact thing you're using, but also a lot of the videos that we played were through PowerPoint presentation. So it was like, here's our PowerPoint presentation of the lesson, and then you click the video and play it. One thing that I think, if you're doing a larger live stream, is in the EFL teaching community for like a lot of these companies operating out of China to teach, Chinese students English. These companies have dedicated people, and they call them firemen. And basically what this person's job is to chat with parents and whoever is watching the child to make sure that all the tech issues are going correctly. So if live streaming is going to be a more prominent form of art, what companies might choose to do is have their own fireman. And I hope that we find a better word for it, because I'm not a fan of that one, but that's the concept, that you have somebody who can put out any technical fires.
Cool. We have a few minutes left. I want to ask, anyone on the panel have anything they would like to add? Yeah, Marissa?
Yeah, just going back on talking about challenges with live stream. We didn't finish our full go around with that. I think honestly one of the biggest challenges, aside from just typical technology issues or viewer counts or something of that, is that transition from where we were, us in Winnipeg here, where we were middle of March to where we are now. Like with my organization, with Art Beat Studio, we have a urban art center in Central Park, and we offer daily programming from Monday to Friday for a lot of individuals who may not have access to internet or may not have access to a computer. So a really big challenge of that is knowing that we're not deflating our services, and we're not losing anything that we can think of right now. We're not giving any less of a value of our services to those who we can reach. So alternate things we have been doing, like we've been working with other organizations to fulfill like physical art supplies kits that we're able to hand out and do collaborations and such. Like we've been working with seniors programs too. But I think that's a big challenge for people who are on both sides of the live stream, those who are viewers and those who are the performer, or the panelist, or the person who's on that other side of the screen, is just knowing that you're not devaluing what you've done previous to this. This is just really excelling, and again reaching more people than you have been able to before, and just again being that accessible source for people right now, because it is a time where isolation feels so great when we have to socially distance ourselves from others. And I think it's really important that we in the Winnipeg arts community are trying to fulfill as best as we can and build strength in a positive outlook on the internet, I would say.
Yeah, I've definitely met a few people over the years who are just like generally wary of the internet and technology. And then also, of course, people who like don't have a computer or don't have a phone, that kind of thing too. But I mean, it's nice to hear how many ways it's working for people and helping you stay connected and connecting with more people. And that accessibility thing is huge. We're pretty close to 4. Rachel, should we wrap up? What do you think? Panelists?
Yeah. Oh, there's one more question.
Oh,
Heather, as a school librarian, I've had the luxury of using the Google Classroom environment, lots of free add-ins, Google Meet for lots of users, and just this week, Google Jamboard. Now that it's been slowly made available to the non-education and corporate paying community for free, not sure for how long, are you going to try it? That's an interesting question. I'd never heard of it before, Google Classroom.
I've used Google Meet a couple times for like meetings at work, but that's been it so far. But I feel like there's so many to choose from at this point. It's like almost a job in itself figuring out what to use.
Yes, that's for sure. Panelist contact info. Can I share everyone's contact info? Or Danny, you email me. I'll forward the email. But yeah, thanks everybody for your time and your knowledge and for sharing what you know so far. You know, we're all learning together, and so that's what the goal of this whole thing was just to gather a bunch of people who have been learning as we go and to share what we've learned. So
this has been really great. Thank
Oh,
you so
awesome.
much, everyone. I've just been so good to talk to multi-genre artists too and come together.
Yeah, it's good to bring all the communities together too, because like, you know, Issa, you've been having Zoom chats with the comedians, but
Yeah.
have you talked to a virtual theater person?
No.
In Taiwan.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what's so great about this is that you know, like I'm not a musician and like I only teach theater at the theater school here. So knowing that that's even a possibility and, you know, just sort of like thinking of the ideas that could go into those other mediums, it's really cool. And I think I know like a lot of people, you know, who are my age or a little bit older tend to sort of, you know, say like, oh, the internet's bad, people are dependent on it. And I just look at it as another way of making art more accessible. You know, like I know not everyone has a computer or has access to the internet, but I think it's still another step towards accessibility in the arts.
100%.
I'm gonna have to run, folks. I have back-to-back Zoom calls today.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you
so much.
Yay,
Thank you, everyone. Take care.